Hello everyone, welcome to ixamBee. We have with us Ms. Bhagyashree Chatterjee today, and she has cleared the DEPR exam for 2023. So she is a proud RBI DEPR officer now. So many congratulations, Bhagyashree.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you for taking out time to talk to us today. So Bhagyashree, I'll give a brief background. She has, of course, done her master's in economics. She did it in 2017. After that, she's been working. She's worked with Credit Suisse before, and currently she's working with PwC. And she decided to take the DEPR exam, and she has cleared it in 2023 this year. So, Bhagyashree, let's hear it from you. How did you manage your preparation along with the job in PwC, which can be taxing and time demanding? So how did you manage to prepare, and what has been your approach?
Ma'am, so since I was working and the work hours could be a bit hectic, so what I did was I created a schedule and I tried to stick to that schedule as much as I could. And I tried to, chalk out 2 hours in the morning or 1 hour in the night, something like that, so as to study. And what I tried to do was study in a very smart and methodical way and not go too much into the depths, not go too much, into every note and every book. I tried to study each topic very methodically and very smartly and in a concise way. So if I were to decode the 3 phases, I think for phase 1, I would say I stuck to the ixamBee notes because they were quite concise and quite to the point. And I did as much mock tests as I could because phase 1 was about, getting the questions. It wasn't about writing or it wasn't about theory. So you have to get the correct option in the correct question. So the more you practice, I felt the more, the type of questions and then. So first I finished my entire syllabus and then I kept a lot of time for mock tests. And then I did as many mock tests as I could. I even went back to, solving my economics entrance examinations, objective type questions. So once the ixamBee mock tests were over, I went back to solving some objective questions that were there in economics entrance exams, which I used to give. So yeah, phase 1, I think, was about that. And the phase 1, the essay writing, pressy writing part, I mostly just followed the techniques that were there in the ixamBee classes. I think some techniques given, I stuck to that. I read newspapers and kind of tried to be updated with current affairs and everything. And yeah, I think in the essay, it was not too much about current affairs, the essays were more in general, environmental and things like that. So that was that. In phase 2, that required a more exhaustive and more thorough approach because you had to write answers which had to be concise, but it had to include everything. So in phase 2, what I did was, so RBI has this syllabus, right? It gives you each and every topic and also the books that you need to refer to. So for each and every topic, I tried to prepare 1-page or 2-page answers. So for example, the Hexarollin model. So I prepared a 1-page answer or a 2-page answer that if this model is asked about, this is what I would write with diagrams and everything. So each and every topic, I tried to write down answers so that I know the structure. I can give a structure to all the answers. That was. So yeah, phase 2, I think the entire syllabus that RBI gives, I stuck to that and I prepared all the topics and the subtopics that were given in the RBI syllabus. For the interview phase, you could be asked anything. So in the beginning, I was super confused as to how do I go about it. There's current affairs, there's RBI website, RBI bulletins, RBI this, that. Then also there's the whole syllabus, there's my background. So and I think after the results were declared for phase 2, there was no clue as to when the interview would happen. So I didn't know how much time do I have to prepare, what do I focus on. So interview, I think it was a bit messed up in the beginning. And then I think we had one mock interview with ixamBee. So there, I at least got a direction as to how to look at things. So first, prepare your CV. So there, I think, ma'am, you told me, and the guest who was there, he also told me that you should know your CV very well. So that's where I started from. That I was working with Credit Suisse. I was working with a foreign bank. So, and in credit risk management. So I tried to relate everything in India with respect to credit risk management. What RBI does with respect to credit risk management. So I thought that at least this I should know, that all the Basel rules, any regulations that RBI has or with respect to credit risk management. I thought I should be well aware of this. And then I think I set up an alert on my phone that anything, any RBI news I should get. Every time RBI used to penalize any cooperative bank, anything, I used to get an alert that, okay, this is what RBI has done today. So, and then I went to the RBI websites. I read, I think, the RBI bulletins, RBI annual reports. So, more or less, if you read too many RBI documents, you find that the tone is pretty much similar. Like,
you start getting a hang of it. I think you'll
start. Indian economy is resilient. This, that. Okay, this is the GDP. This is this. So, more or less, the tone of it is resilient. But you get to know what is the focus areas of RBI. So, some of the topics in the monthly bulletins, if you read, you get to know what is the focus area, or like they're focusing on fintech evolutions right now, things like that. So on those lines, I started just preparing some things that at least I knew what is the focus areas. So that was one thing. So I prepared my CV well. I tried to go through most of the RBI documents well. And then whatever the focus areas of RBI was, I tried to go through that. And I used to read Mint every day. So Mint had these great articles. And
they have very nice articles.
Yeah.
And I think the best part is they're very simple. So in everyday language. So it becomes easy to. And I think for otherwise, if conceptually you like reading them, they help you with that. And in the interview stage, what good thing is you can get into a conversation because they are in everyday language. So
exactly.
So you were reading that every day, only around interview, or was it from the beginning?
No, from the beginning of phase 1 itself. So and if I studied if I read any interesting article or something very, very relevant, I would just, put it there somewhere or write it down, or, just to be revised later or something like that. So, yeah. So, Mint was a very important part because I think anything that happened with RBI or anything, they decoded it very well. And they sometimes, some economists would also portray their opinions. So you would read their opinions and then also form your own. So I think Mint reading was quite a good aspect for me. And then I think ixamBee had the set of 200 questions for the interview. So at least you could get every topic from those set of questions. So 200 different topics that was there. So I tried to prepare, not all maybe, but at least as many as I could from those 200 questions. So a lot of things I didn't even know about. Like, for example, there was some asset monetization program. I had no clue what that was. So things like that were from the ixamBee, those 200 questions, exhaustive list of questions that I had. Yeah, so that was also quite helpful for the interview.
Great. So Bhagyashree, you've covered it, step by step throughout. So mostly it's covered, but let me, go back, rewind a little bit, a few points and maybe some queries that we come, especially in between. Say, first, if I go back to, say, phase 1, as you said, you prepared in a very methodical manner and very smartly. So if I have to break that down, how is that smart thing done? Because it may be easy to say it, but execution-wise, it may be very, very difficult, and especially when, you have that at the back of your mind that you're in a competitive exam. And, even if, I sit down today, there's always a small sense of fear. What if this comes, I'm leaving this out? What if this comes, I'm leaving this out?
Right.
So how does one go about doing that smart thing? Or how did you go about doing the smart preparation?
Right. So, ma'am, I think the first step was I identified my strengths. Right. So, or the things that I liked. So, I like macro, I like micro, I like econometrics. I am not fond of development economics. Somehow, I've never been fond of those things. So, and I didn't like, say, mugging up numbers and mugging up dates. So,
that's not your strength, basically.
Yeah, that is that, and I won't remember those things. I knew that. So, in the objective type questions, there's negative marking, right? So, I knew that if I give a wrong answer to these questions, just guess them. Chances 3 out of 4 are that I will get a negative marking. So what I started was preparing my strengths thoroughly. So if it is micro, then I would do everything in micro. I won't leave anything out, right? So in phase 2 also, you get a choice, right? So out of 5, you have to attempt 4. So say micro macro was still fine. In econometrics, I decided I will attempt all 3, and in Indian economy, I'll stick to 2.
So it was clubbed with Indian economy, which was not majorly preferred area.
Yeah. And in Indian economy also, I knew at least there would be one question, say from current affairs, or there was a lot of inflation going on at that time, right? So you could expect, and RBI monetary policy was being questioned as to, inflation was very high. So like you can expect that something along these lines can come in the exam. So that awareness and that a bit of maybe overconfidence that and then I left a lot of things in Indian economy because I knew I didn't have time, and it will just overburden me if I wanted to prepare so many things at once. So that was not my strength, so I didn't go to a lot of those things. But I mean, that worked for me. It might not work for everybody, but yeah, I kind of first identified my strengths and I stuck to those. I didn't try to prepare it all.
That's where we start. So like Bhagyashree, we'll come a little later again for the interview. Like you mentioned now, it could be overwhelming where to start. Because there's everything, there's so much to be done, and interview is something that anything under the sun can be asked, to be honest, right? So if I come back to this phase 1 thing, I think to start with, this is the approach or one of the best known approaches. First, know your strengths and weaknesses, and then go for your strengths. Majority of the times, we end up focusing on the weaknesses, trying to better them. Of course, one should better them, overcome, because one should always keep learning. But that cannot be your first strategy. First strategy is what you know.
Right.
Have claim that as yours, that ye to karna hi hai, this is inside my bag, now let me see what more I can get into my bag. Right. So I think that's a very good way. You've summarized it very well. It's very important to understand your strengths, go for them, strengthen it to the extent ki wo to aapko 100% surety ye to main kar hi lunga. Ab what more can I do? Let's get into what more can I do. So I think that's a very nice point, very smart point, as you mentioned. Phase 2 also, I'm sure you would have started with this strategy, and then a lot of practice would have come in. So for phase 2, if I say, because it was descriptive, and phase 1, as you said, you stuck to your strength areas, you revised through the notes yourself or through ixamBee, which were given, you gave a lot of mocks. But in phase 2, because it was descriptive, so were you even writing answers on a daily basis? And did it start after phase 1 or before, from the very beginning?
Yeah, ma'am, I was writing. So as I said, so all the RBI has a very exhaustive syllabus, right? So each and every point in that syllabus, I tried writing down, I tried making questions into them. I also referred to the exhaustive list of questions that ixamBee had. So in the ixamBee questions, there were like consumer theory, set of 10 questions, producer theory, set of 10 questions. So all those questions, whenever I was studying, I tried preparing it in the question answer format only. I didn't first go into the text and study. And so first, I completely prepared it in a question answer format. So, defining difference curves, I
Okay, so you would try it and then.
Yeah. So that gives the structure to the answer as well, and like what is to be eliminated, what is to write. So I think, yeah.
Good approach. That's a good point. Any
and I also,
yeah, please.
So in phase 2, I also went through a lot of IES question papers. So I think last 2-3 years IES question papers. It was also suggested in one of the classes, I think. So I went through some IES, and IES has some tricky questions as well. Ones which you wouldn't know if you didn't know it already. So so those questions also I think I prepared, but they were not part of the RBI exam. But yeah, it was good to just go through them, prepare those answers as well.
Yeah. Okay. Any particular books you would say or recommend?
So I think the books that are given in the RBI syllabus and which we studied in, which we used during our college time. So Varian is one of them. I think Dornbusch Fisher for macro, Varian for micro. Indian economy, I think Uma Kapila was one of them. So I think most of the books that were given in the syllabus, PDF versions of those were also available on the internet. So, or I borrowed it from my friends who had those books. So most of the books, like I didn't refer to anything which were outside the syllabus that was given.
Great. So very focused, I would say, preparation. Bhagyashree, you went in a very, as you already said, in a very methodical manner, you went about preparation. Interview, like you said, you had prepared on various stages. And why I remember is because you were initially the first 1 or 2 persons who came for the mock at ixamBee. And to be honest, many times we see students not take up mocks till the interview dates are out, because they say, like, we don't want to waste that chance. We don't want to exhaust it till the the actual interview dates are out, and then maybe get into the preparation or prepare and come to see where we stand. Of course, it has its own benefits. I was glad you came as one of the earlier ones in November itself, after the results had come out for the mock. The benefits of that is the other way. You are able to understand how to go about the preparation or what all areas to get into. So yes, we had a very long conversation in that, and you would then picking up preparing your CV. So how helpful was it in the actual interview preparing from your CV?
So in the interview, I think the first 10-15 minutes were totally based on my CV. So they asked me, why did Credit Suisse collapse, and things like that. So so completely that. And then anything around credit risk management, Basel rules in India. So a lot of questions were related to my profile. So the first few minutes, they completely went into my profile and everything. And then, I think the CV preparation is a very big aspect of it. And if you have things which are very relevant to what the RBI does, then even more. So, for example, the ECL framework of RBI, that is completely related to the credit risk management field that I'm in. So they asked me that. Principles of risk management, these were things that they asked me. So it's completely what my profile was. So I think the fact that I prepared my profile well went a long way.
Great. So I'm sure you are elated, very relieved after such a long preparation cycle. And anything you would like to say that one can avoid during their preparation for this exam?
I think getting too overwhelmed and trying to do everything. It is not possible to try to study everything. So as I said, I think focusing on what you can rather than what you can't is is very important. So I think a lot of people, try to get general awareness notes from all sources possible and then mug. So for DEPR, at least, I think the proportion of general awareness in phase 1 or phase 2 is rather small. So try to focus more on the syllabus, try to focus more on the core concepts rather than getting everything from everywhere. So even in the interview, I think they asked me about solo model and how it is relevant for the Indian economy now. So so you need to know solo model, but you also need to know what is
actually its implication and all, not just the theory part of it.
Exactly. So you should focus on concepts, like building the concepts well rather than on just getting as much information as you can. So the core concepts, they go a long way.
That's a nice point actually, Bhagyashree, when you bring this out now, because when we are also taking mocks and advising and giving feedback, many times students are not able to understand when we say absorb the concepts or go by the conceptual clarity, or when you're reading the news, absorb the news. Actually, that's what exactly we mean. Like Bhagyashree said, you may be knowing a concept in isolation, you may be knowing a news in isolation. Absorbing it is when you're able to understand the context, how they're tied up, because theory doesn't exist for the sake of existing. It's being applied somewhere, right? The moment you are able to correlate and connect those dots and bring that out in your conversation, you're prepared. That's it. Nothing else is left rather than going through the books again and again. So I think that's a very good example that you brought out. And one question I'll ask again, although you kind of have answered, but I'll ask explicitly once again. Like you said, the role of general awareness per se in the DEPR exam phase 1 or phase 2 is relatively less, because they're not really asking you general awareness type of questions. They will ask you economics-based questions. Then should one be reading a newspaper in that case from the very beginning?
Yeah, absolutely. One should read the newspapers, because what I meant when I said the role of general awareness is less is the kind of questions that you see in the general grade B, right? That how much has the government spent on this scheme, or how much what is the turnover of this, like things like that, the amounts you need to know, or the scheme you need to know. I think those kind of questions would be relative, even if they are the number of them was small. So for me personally, I didn't focus a lot on those things, but I think one needs to know what in general the government is doing, what is the focus of the government. So simple, like the millets and these things are the focus of the government now, right? Or capital expenditure is the focus of the government. So just by reading the newspapers, you don't need to mug up the numbers or the overlays. You need to know what the focus of the government or the RBI or things are. So absolutely, you should read the newspapers. I don't think you can go ahead without that. Because even in phase 2, I think there was a question on this monetary policy, whether the monetary policy committee is required in India or not, because inflation is driven by food inflation. So until unless you know the whole MPC and what they are doing, what is the minutes now, you won't be able to answer such questions. So you need to be aware. But my point was talking more about I think mugging up things, which the numbers or the things like that. I think that one can avoid if you're not good at it.
So to reiterate what Bhagyashree has said right now, yes, and I brought it out so that it's not misunderstood. The point is not misunderstood. Right. It is direct questions not being asked does not mean one doesn't need to be aware about what is happening in the world and the economy that we are, because being associated with RBI would require you to understand your economy, would require what the current situations are, and accordingly take the steps that are necessary. So being aware makes you more prepared, strengthens your concepts, strengthens your understanding of whatever you are studying and why you are studying it, the implications. So, it's not an option. You need to read the newspapers is what I'm trying to bring out from this point, not just from the exam point of view, but the understanding point of view. So that's a requirement that one should go for. So thanks, Bhagyashree. With your help, this point is brought out, and it's removing the misconception also, or misunderstanding people may have after listening to a few out of context sentences that it's not important or not or is important. So great, Bhagyashree. Thanks again. I think it's been a very crisp to the point kind of a conversation that we've had, kind of covering all the aspects. I hope this will help give the motivation, clear doubts, and the right strategy to many of the people, many of the students who want to prepare for 2024. Thanks again, once again, Bhagyashree. Wishing you very a good career with RBI ahead, and a very fruitful and enriching one. And thanks again for taking out time today to talk to us.
Thank you, ma'am. And thanks to ixamBee as well. I think it was a major part of my preparation, and it really contributed, I think, mainly to the success. So yeah, thanks a lot to ixamBee as well. And thank you, ma'am. I think I've attended a lot of your classes. I got a lot of information. I got a lot of direction. Even in the mock test, I think, ma'am, you told me, very, very to the point things like I don't do eye contact. I think you told me that I should maintain eye contact at all times. I should cut down my verbosity. I should be very brief about things. So I think those things helped me a lot. So in the interview, I was every time I would look down, I was like, okay, eye contact. Okay. I remembered your words. Okay, maintain eye contact. So yeah, I think you, ma'am, and ixamBee as well helped me a lot. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Bhagyashree, for sharing that and for your gratitude. And of course, it makes us very, very happy and proud, when any of our advice or directions are helpful in any manner. So that's exactly what we aim to do, and getting to know that and the gratitude, of course, helps us become closer to our own vision of helping you all achieve your dreams. So thanks again, and wishing you all the best.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.